Come see this thing 1560, European Ameriphiles, Shambolic Europe, Operatic Europeo. This is a series where I summarize rantatonne posts made up of at least 3 things I've read, seen, or heard. First question, is this all one big eliterati love fest? This section highlights a neutrality studies video where Nel Bonilla joins Pascal Lotas to talk about how there might be mind control of the European elites by the USA. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's more just old country Europe. They had these old power structures switched to the state, and some of those power brokers kind of receded a bit, but the eliterati on the stage are still in control. Because from the American point of view that I'm more familiar with, I see a lot of people wondering, why is our eliterati and eliterati so Europhilic and focused on European interests? Whereas from the European point of view, like these two are speaking from, they could be like, why are ours focused on American interests? When you objectively consider the military and monetary might of America, it makes sense to think that the world is focused on them. But then you think of the eliterati class around the world, and these kids, and they live in the same infospheres, so they kind of share the same ideology, so would be meeting on the same page. And then you look at the actual power brokers behind the scenes, they have transcended happenstances of birth, like where the geography of the country that you live in, and operate more in a global scale. And for that, for their schemes and machinations, America is still the most powerful tool at the moment. Next question, is the European Union increasing international division? I think this is a good example of just how this is cross purposes. It's a partnership sort of thing. Because the first story here is from the Duran, talking about the UK-Afghanistan scandal that's being covered up. There's billions of pounds, I think. Had to pause and actually check because it's 7 billion pounds. And but this is a statecraft we're talking about. They can access that level of money and hide things like this because there's no accountability when they get caught. Makes sense that most of the striking imagery from that is the Afghans falling off of the wheels of the C-130 as it took off, and then the Americans who lost their lives as the prisons collapsed. But many of the European partners that did not partner with the United States of America's warfare state aspect did join them in the welfare state and sent thousands of people over there to work with many other Afghans in Afghanistan. Recently, news came out that the UK government had been bringing Afghans into the UK at the tune of 7 billion pounds. And there was also a massive data leak of the people that worked with them and their family members that the Taliban has had for, I think, years now. And I'm not against actually going in and getting people that help. Don't just leave them there. The Taliban's not really the best sort of people you want to be left around. My main frustration here, though, is that this is an issue that the state created to begin with, and now it's failing to address, and I contrast that with the coverage of the failing Afghanistanization going on in Project Ukraine, where Zelensky is now going after the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor, which is an international organization for the welfare warfare state to control the monies going in there. But Zelensky's trying to do like former Afghan President Afghani and make sure he has his money squirreled away, so when it's time to go, he's got to have that handled. But they're like, nah. Activate protesters, send them out in the street. And an interesting thing is you can see it's the same sort of demographic that's objecting to the Doge sort of welfare state cuts that are going on in America. Last section, do fat women and men get asked the same questions? In the same way that the establishment seems to be saying it's now okay to question if Zelensky really is that Churchillian leader, this section focuses on another portly European of great renown in Luciano Pavarotti and certain questions that were asked to him back then as a portly man that probably couldn't be asked anymore today, even to men, if definitely not women.